friends, it's Pastor Julie from Redeemer United Church of Christ out in the Prairie for your third episode of Wonder Wednesdays. Today's theme is leaves and our project is pinwheels. We're going to start today with some scripture. So if you have a Bible and want to read along, please do so. The scripture for today is the book of Revelation from chapter 22, and we're going to read verses 1 through 3. Then the angel showed me the river of life-giving water, shining like crystal, flowing from the throne of God and the Lamb through the middle of the city's main street. On each side of the river is the tree of life, which produces 12 crops of fruit, bearing its fruit each month. The tree's leaves are for the healing of the nations. There will no longer be any curse. So I'm so glad that you have tuned in today. If you have any questions, please feel free to put the questions in the comment section, and we will make sure your questions get answered. And now I'm going to turn it over to Rick and Nancy to give us a prairie lesson on leaves.
All right. Today we're talking about leaves, as you've probably figured out. And I want to ask you a couple questions about leaves. Why do you think, first of all, that plants have leaves? Something that we think about, we just assume, well, plants have leaves. Why? What do leaves do for a plant anyway? Well, I had to go look this up just so I could explain it, or try to explain it in a way that you would understand. Not some big long scientific definition. Leaves are necessary for a plant because they make food for the plant. Everything that's alive needs nutrition, needs food. So leaves do that in an interesting way. First of all, what color are leaves? Emma, Henry, what color are leaves?
Leaves are like usually green.
Green.
Or in the fall they're yellow,
Yes.
brown, red.
Right. And there's a reason why they turn orange and brown and red in the fall. The thing that makes them green in the summer is called chlorophyll. It's an interesting chemical, and it's inside of the leaf. Chlorophyll helps feed the plant, and the way it does that is the leaf, when it's exposed to the sun, which today is a very sunny day, so all these leaves are sitting in the sun. The chlorophyll in the leaf reacts with the sunlight, and it makes the plants food. Plants don't eat food like we do. They have their own special chemical food. But they need chlorophyll and they need sun. So you can imagine that all these plants that grow in the prairie, they get lots of sun, don't they? There's no shade out here. Very, very little shade. If there's a tree, there'll be some shade underneath the tree, but there aren't too many trees except on the edge. So today, instead, we can't possibly talk about all of the plants on the prairie, but we're going to talk about two interesting plants that are behind us. And I like them because they're the tallest, biggest plants on the prairie. I'll talk about this one first, and then Rick will talk about the other one. This one, this is its leaf. It's pretty big, right? And you know, it's what it's called?
A leaf.
A leaf, right. This is the leaf. The plant is called prairie dock. D-O-C-K. Don't ask me where the name comes from. I don't know. But it's interesting, and there's a plant behind me. I'll show you. First of all, it's interesting because look at here. just look how tall the flowers are. I'd say that's at least 10 feet tall. And there are lots of them here. It takes many years. It takes 7 years for them to get any flowers at all. Sometimes the first few years all they get is leaves, and then the flowers are short, and then every year it gets taller and taller. This is the leaf. Now look at this stem. You see any leaves on it? No. Guess where the leaves are? They're all the way down here at the bottom. And they grow right from the bottom, one leaf. And they grow kind of in a circle. And they're called basal leaves. They grow from the base of the plant. That's how I remember them. And this plant always amazes me that it's so tall. So, why don't you talk about the other one?
The other one we want to talk about is also a very big leaf. And as I'm looking at this, it looks like it's a lot of little leaves. But if you look really, really close, you'll notice that they just kind of all grow together. I don't know if you can see that there. There's really no break in between the individual leaves. And this is and it's a lot different. The one that Nancy showed you is one big round leaf. This one has a lot of points to it.
It's like
Yeah,
fingers.
it's like your hand. It's got all fingers on it. And this is called a compass plant. Compass. And if you think of compass, what do you think a compass does? It kind of shows you direction. You maybe look at that if you're lost in the woods, and you can tell what direction is north and what direction you have to go. And this plant does much that same thing. When we look at the plant, you notice it's pretty flat. There's not much this way. It's all here. It's almost like it's flat this way. And if you look at these plants, the leaves again are coming up from the base of the plant, and they're always pointed so that they're going north and south. You'll never see them this direction. So this is north, this is south, and that's always the way the plants are oriented. And if you're ever out on a prairie, and you can imagine back when the pioneers were first coming across the prairie, if they come across these plants and it wasn't sunny out, so they didn't know what direction they were headed, the plant would always give them a general direction of north and south. So this plant also, there's one hiding back here, a couple of them. You notice there's all kinds of leaves working their way up the stalk, and this one can also get tall. This is a pretty short one actually. These will also get as tall as the one Nancy was just showing you. And the flowers are like sunflowers. And they will get a whole bunch of these. Here's one that was a flower, now it's all gone to seed. Look at all the seeds in there. And here's a couple of buds for some that may still open up. But it will get a bunch of yellow sunflower type flowers. And I think, is there anything else about either of these plants?
Well, yes.
You have something?
I want to explain one last interesting thing. And Henry, I need you. There's one more process that plants do. Now, it gets pretty hot out here on the prairie. It does. And plants also have another big word that's connected with them. It's called transpiration. Or even more long word is evapotranspiration. Try to spell that.
Or even say it.
All it is, now you can see how tall this plant is. Like I said, 10 feet. The roots of this plant are even longer. They go down in the ground 12 feet or more. Now the shorter ones may be only 6 feet. And then every year when they get longer, the roots also get longer. So what the roots do is collect water that's down under the ground. Even when it's dry up here, because it hasn't rained for a long time, if you dig and you start digging down a ways, feet, there'll be lots of water down there. So the plant roots go down and get water from under the ground way deep, and then the plant roots suck up the water all the way up to the top of the roots where the stem starts. And then what they do is, especially here, the water comes out, goes up the stem, goes out the leaves, and then it evaporates from the leaf. And you can sit out on the prairie on a really hot day, and you come and you feel one of these leaves. You put your hand here and your hand there, and what does it feel like, Henry?
It's cold. It's pretty cold.
It's cold. It is. And there it sits in the sunshine. You'd think it would be hot, but it's cold. Charlie, do you want to feel this?
It's cold.
Put your hands on both sides of the sleeve.
Yes, what's that?
See how cold it is? Isn't that amazing? That's how this process helps get moisture out into the air. So you can imagine all these plants out here are doing that. And it's quite a healthy thing for the plant and for us too. So I wanted you to know those two things today. Got any questions?
No.
Okay, good. Thank you for your help.
Do you have anything else?
Nope.
One other thing about leaves, we've shown you two that are kind of unique and they're large. But every plant, Nancy said we don't have time to look at all of them, but if you looked at every plant that's out here, every one has a different type of leaf. And some are coming all the way up the stalk, some are at the bottom, some are wide, some are narrow, some are big, some are small. So sometime when you're out here at church or even at home in your garden, just wander around and look at all the different kinds of plants and look at how different their leaves are. But every one of them serves a purpose for that plant. So do a little exploring and see what you can find on your prairie or in your garden. And with that, we are going to turn it over to Mary and her family, and we have a project for you.
Good morning, friends. How are you today? Thanks for joining us. Well, today we are going to make leaf pinwheels. So your first job is to go out in your yard or come out to the prairie and find some leaves. Now in our yard, we don't have prairie dock and we don't have compass plants. So I was in search of large leaves that we had on trees and plants at our house. And what we found, do you remember what tree this came from, Henry? The shag bark hickory tree. And these ones are nice and large, so this would be an option that you could use for your pinwheel.
Or
what's that one
this
from?
one is a plant called a hosta.
Yep, so you could get
And it grows really pretty purple flowers.
some hosta plants have pretty purple flowers, and they're usually, are these leaves found in the shade or the sunlight?
Shade.
In the shade areas, yep. Or we also have giant maple trees, and these maple leaves get really big. So you want to find a leaf that is relatively large, because what you're going to do first is take your leaf and a measuring stick. Ours got broken, but it doesn't matter. It's a straight edge and I can still use it. And you want to make a perfect square. So either 4 inches by 4 inches by 4 inches, or you can do 3 inches, but either way you need to make a perfect square. So straight edge, ruler, and your leaf, and then you just use a Sharpie, usually works best so that you can see it, and you just measure it and mark your square on your leaf. Then you take your scissors, Henry's going to use his football scissors, and you cut out your square from your leaf. And you're going to end up with a leaf square. Then this is kind of the tricky part. From that square, you're going to take your pair of scissors and you go from the corner toward the center. And you make one cut, like that. I don't know if you can see. Then go to the other corner and go toward the center, but be careful not to cut all the way through. You don't want your cuts to meet. And then you go to the other corner and you cut toward the center. Careful again not to cut through the leaf. And of course, if you do, you start over. No big deal. Then you go to the other corner and cut toward the center. How you doing, Henry? Yep. You go toward the center. Yep. Yep. There's another little one here you can cut. You can start there. That's okay. See, it happens sometimes when you cut all the way to the center. It is tricky. You got to go really slow. And then, I don't know if we're going to be able to see how I do this. It's okay. You want another leaf? Start over.
Square.
Here, measure it out first, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep, you can have a leaf too. All right. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take your leaf and you're going to fold the one corner into the center. You're going to use your craft glue, but I'm going to tell you a little secret. If you have a glue gun at home, that actually works better. But we wanted to make sure you had glue on hand, so if you don't have a glue gun at home, this will work. It's just going to take a little bit more time to dry. So I'm going to use this because that's what I have outside today, but it's not going to stick very well. So you just put a little dab of glue in the center and push like that. Then you take the other corner and you go toward the center. And I actually have a little excess glue so I can do that. Then the other corner, let me add a little bit more glue and fold it in. You made it? Good job. And then you take the other corner. Oopsie. You can see how it's not, this glue doesn't stick very well. But hot glue works really, really, really well. Like so. So there's your pinwheel. And then once this glue dries, in your Wonder Wednesday kit, there are also nuts that you can then glue to the center of your pinwheel like that. And then once that dries, where'd all my sticks go? Charlie was making crosses with them. Then you're going to find a stick in your yard and glue the stick onto it like so. And then once it all dries, I made this one this morning. And I actually stuck it in my glitter that we made last week. When it dries, you have a leaf pinwheel. Now these pinwheels aren't like real pinwheels that they actually spin, but it's just kind of a cool little creation. You did it! There you go. And then Henry, I can help you fold that when we're done here. And there is your leaf pinwheel, and you can use it for however you like, however you want. If you want to stick it in your glitter from last week, and stick it in a jar, and there you go. If you have any questions or you get stuck on the folding part through this week, feel free to reach out to us, write something in the comments, send us a message, and I'd be happy to jump on and help you make your pinwheels. Hope you're having a great week. We'll see you next week. Say bye.
Bye.
Thank you everyone for watching today, our third episode, and please tune in next week for our fourth and final episode with dragonflies. Thank you, friends. See you soon.